This is the story of a woman called Grace. She wasn't born into royalty. She wasn't born into wealth, power, or even peace. She was born in the dusty outskirts of a small village where dreams often died before they had the chance to live. Her childhood was marked by struggle. Her mother sold vegetables by the roadside, and her father, though once full of potential, was a broken man battling alcoholism. Their home was small, though their meals were simple, and some nights they went to bed on empty stomachs. But Grace... Grace was different. While other children played carefree, she often sat by herself reading the worn-out Bible her mother had gifted her. The same Bible that had missing pages and a cracked leather cover. Esther, the woman who was placed in position not for comfort but for purpose. That story wasn't just a tale to Grace, it was a seed, a vision, a whisper of what could be. Her favorite story was always the same: Esther. Grace had passed with flying colors. With no one else to care for her, Grace left school. When she arrived on campus, it was like stepping into another world. Students laughed about Netflix and iPhones, luxuries Grace had never touched. Her clothes were simple. Her accent was different, and her faith unshakable. What started as 3 girls soon grew into dozens. Girls who were broken, battling depression, battling shame. Girls who had never been told they were worthy. Grace reminded them. She spoke life into them. She wore her kittens proudly, even in rooms where no one looked like her. She spoke about dignity, purpose, and identity. She spoke about God. She sacrificed her education, the one thing she valued most, to nurse her mother day and night. For 2 years, Grace stayed by her mother's side, cooking, praying, hoping. While others her age were graduating and celebrating, Grace was washing linens and holding back tears. You can use me. I don't want riches. I want purpose. She prays with them, cries with them, and reminds them, you are not what you've been through. You are who God says you are. Even as a little girl, she had something in her spirit, quiet strength, a wisdom that surpassed her age. It's about rising from nothing, not with bitterness, but with boldness. Wakes up early, kneels beside her bed, whispers, Lord, let me be a vessel. What began in her heart now empowers thousands of women across the world. Her uniform was always fraying, and her shoes had been repaired so many times that the sole barely clung on. And maybe you're like Grace. Maybe life has broken you, delayed you, mocked you. Maybe you've been told you're not enough. The room was filled with powerful voices, CEOs, activists, dignitaries. She walked onto the stage, a young woman from a forgotten village, now standing before the world. Still, she never missed class, never made excuses, and never let shame silence her. Esther, the orphan girl who became queen. I dainty speak to impress. I speak to remind the girl walking barefoot today that she is not forgotten, that she is loved, that she was created for a reason, just like Esther. I believe we are called not for comfort, but for courage. She would wake early every morning before school, kneel beside her creaky wooden bed and pray, Lord, if you can use Esther. At school, Grace was bright, naturally gifted. But poverty followed her like a shadow. When she was 16, tragedy struck. Her mother became seriously ill. And then, with barely anything left, she stood up, dusted herself off, and returned to school. When her mother eventually passed, Grace buried her with dignity. She was older than her classmates now, behind on the curriculum, but she carried fire, and fire cannot be hidden. She studied at night under a kerosene lamp. Sometimes hungry, often tired, always determined. And when the results came out, she earned a partial scholarship to a local university. Some mocked her for being too deep, too prayerful, too reserved. But Grace stayed grounded. While others partied on Friday nights, Grace led a small prayer group in her dorm. They called the group Daughters of Destiny. She graduated top of her class and was offered a fellowship in public leadership abroad, chance of a lifetime. One day, she was invited to speak at an international women's summit. She paused, and then she said, I may not come from royalty, but I come with purpose. There was silence, then applause, a standing ovation. The video of her speech went viral, but Grace didn't chase the spotlight. She came back home. With support from local and global partners, she launched the Esther Rise Foundation, a nonprofit organization that equips rural women with business skills, education, counseling, and the Word of God. She visits villages, sits with women under trees, and listens to their stories. Today, Grace is a voice for the voiceless, a mother to many, modern day Esther. But she doesn't live in a palace. She still lives simply. Her story is not just about success, it's about surrender. It's not about fame, it's about faith. She was not the most likely. She was not the most privileged. She was simply available. But let her story remind you, you don't need a title to be chosen. You don't need a crown to be royal. You don't need a perfect background to have a powerful future. Just like Esther, just like Grace, you too were made for such a time as this. Hope this story blesses someone.